Saradava Nalalita Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatvam Praptasya Kalyana Gunarnavasya Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Romancha Kampa Shutaranga Bhajo Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Shivigrahara Dhananitya Nana Shingara Tamantira Marjanado Yutasya Bhaktam Chaniyunjatopi Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Chaturvidashi Bhagavat Prasada Swadana Tripta Haribhakta Sankha Kritreva Triptim Padathasa Deva Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Shirathika Madhava Yorapara Madhurya Lila Gunarupa Namna Pratikshana Swatana Lolupasya Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Nikunja Yuno Radikeri Sitai Yayari Pir Yuktira Pesaniya Tatrati Daksha Trivalabhasa Vande Urashi Charanarvindam Sashatari Tena Samasta Shastre Utastatapa Veteva Satvi Kindu Prabhoya Priya Eva Tasa Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado Yasya prasadam nagati kutopi Dhyayanstuvam tasya yashasti sandhyan Vande Gurashi Charanaravindaam Vande Gurashi Charanaravindaam Vande Gurashi Charanaravindaam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Mate Bhakti Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopa Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shirupa Sanatam Pata Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Pata Dasa Raghunatha Gopala Pata Dasa Raghunatha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Nila Radha Nila Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Sudarshan Chakra Jaya Sitaram 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 Jaya Lakshmana Hanuman Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Nittai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parvitaka Acharya Ashtota Sadashi Srimad Divine Grace Apartana Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya BDT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parvitaka Acharya Ashtota Sadashi Srimad Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vinda Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridasa Ki Jai. Premise Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasade Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Kili Gauradan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Yamuna Devi Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladala Dadaine. Hiranyakashi Purvaksha. Shilatankanakalaye. Ito nasimha parato nasimha. Yato yato yami tato nasimha. Bahe nasimha hridaye nasimha. Narasimhamadim sharanam prapatye. Tavakara kamalavare nakam adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanubringam Shavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे Narasimhadev Jai Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol
Vrindaya Tulasi Devya Kayaya Keshasaka Vishnu Bhakti Pade Devi Satyavajaya Namo Namaha Vrindaya Tulasi Devya Kayaya Keshasaka Vishnu Bhakti Pade Devi Satyavajaya Namo Namaha Vishnu Bhakti Pade Devi Satyavajaya Namo Namaha
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi नमः। राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो ये अभिलाषी, राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो ये अभिलाषी, जे तुम्हारा शरण लो तेरा वांछा पूर्ण हो, जे तुम्हारा शरण लो तेरा वांछा पूर्ण हो, कृपा कोरी कोरो तारे वृंदावन वासी, उपाकारी कोरो तारे वृंदावन मोरा ये अभिलाष विलास कुंज दियो मोरा ये अभिलाष विलास कुंज दियो नायने हेरिबो सदा युगल रूपरासी, निवेदन धरो सखीरनुगत करो, निवेदन धर सखीरनुगत को सेवाधिकार दिए करो निज दासी, निज दासी दीन कृष्ण दासी को ये न मोरा हो, से को ये न मोरा हो, श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न बासी, श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न बासी, राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न बासी, नमो नमः। तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः, तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे, नैकानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे, यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे, तानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे, यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे, नि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे। हरे कृष्णा Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Vrinda Devi, 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 Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। वृंदाये तुलसी देवी प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रति देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः। दाये तुलसी देवी प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रति देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो। वृंदाये तुलसी देव्यै प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रति देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः। दाये तुलसी देवी प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रति देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः। वृंदाये तुलसी देवी प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रति देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः।
Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Nadi Radhi Govinda Sarvakarma Karanam Chitamani Bhagavasadma Sukalpa Viksha Lakshavrite Susurabhira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Konanda Aravinda Dalaya Taksham Parhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visesa Sobam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvana Malya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shaman Tribanga Lalita Niyata Prakasam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Anyani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sadurlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsada Samprakamyo Vayoratapi Manasom Nipungamanam Sopyasti Yat Prapadasimya Vichintya Tatve Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chayatam Jagiranda Kotim Yaschakti Rasti Jagiranda Chayagananta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayanta Rastam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Bhava Bhavita Dio Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusa Suktarya Meva Nigama Pratitaistuvanti Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabis Tabirya Eva Nijarupa Dayakalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hidesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Chintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Rama Adi Murti Sukalani Amenatistan Nana Avatara Makarod Bhuvanesa Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumamyo Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagiranda Koti Koti Swasesa Vasadadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Sesa Bhutam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Hiyasya Jagiranda Satani Sute Trigun Yatad Visay Veda Vitaya Manam Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasu Ya Prani Nam Pratifalam Smaratam Upetya Lilaya Dena Bhuvanani Jayaya Jasram Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Tade Chatasya Devi Mahesu Haridama Sutesu Tesu Tete Prabhava Nijaya Vihitasya Yena Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Sististati Pralaya Sadhava Sakti Reka Jayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichanu Rupam Abhyasya Chichesta Tesa Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Sriram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Nahitata Pritakasti Hetu Yasambutam Apitata Sambupaiti Karya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Deeparchare Vihita Santanam Abhyapetya Deepayate Vivita Heta Samanu Dharma Yastadra Geva Hicha Vishnu Tayavibhati Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narna Vajale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidram Mananta Jagaram Saroma Kupaha Sa Adhara Sakti Mutsa Avalambya Param Samgurtim Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nisvasitakala Matavalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanata Vishnur Mahansa Yasya Kalaviseso Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Basmanya Tasma Sakalesha Nijesa Tesha Sriyam Kiyat Prakatayata Pitat Patatra Ramaya Esa Jagadanda Vidana Karta Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Dvande Pranama Samayesa Ganadi Raja Vignan Vihantam Alamasya Jagatrayasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahika Ganamambu Marudisascha Kalasta Tatma Manasiti Jagatchayani Yasman Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Yamcha Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yaschak Suresa Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Sesa Teja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmo Tapapa Nichaya Sutayasta Pamsi Brahmadi Kita Patagava Tayasta Jiva Yadata Matra Vibhava Prakata Prabhava Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yastrinda Gopa Matavendra Mahosva Karma Bandhanu Rupa Falabhaja Matanoti Karmani Nirdahati Kinti Jabakti Bhaja Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Bitti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gora Vasevya Bhava Sanchintya Tasya Sadvisim Tanamapurete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Druma Bhumis Chintamani Ganama Ito Yamamritam Katadanam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Sipriya Saki Chidanandam Jyoti Param Apitata Swadyam Apicha Sayatra Siradi Bhi Sravati Sirabi Vyasta Sumahan Nimesa Dakyo Vavajiti Nahiya Trapisamaya Bhaje Svita Dvipam Tamaha Ilkolkam Itiyam Vedanta Ste Santakshati Virachara Katipaya Shri Guru Vastika Prayers Ki Jai. The spiritual masters receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisance at the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities. Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments, the spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind, sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes. I offer my respectful obeisance at the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. I offer my respectful obeisance at the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasada, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet as such spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana. I offer my most humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Shri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master. At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master's divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi Haribol. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraja Ki Jai, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text number 4. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapanati Harena Vaha Vadarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Sanihir Suna Sanjihir Suna Aham I, Cha, and Ukta was told, Bhagavata, by the Supreme Lord, Prapana, of the surrendered, Arti Harena, by he who is the vanquisher of the distresses. Ha, indeed. Badarim, to Badari. Tvam, you. Prayahi, should go. Iti, thus. Swakulam, his own family. Sanjivir Suna, who desired to destroy. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Lord is the vanquisher of the distresses of one who is surrendered unto him. Thus, he who desired to destroy his family told me previously to go to Badarik Ashrama. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. While in Dwarka, Uddhava was warned to avoid the distresses which were to follow the disappearance of the Lord and the destruction of the Yadu dynasty. He was advised to proceed to Badarik Ashram because there he could associate with the devotees of Narayana, and in their association of devotional service, he could increase his eagerness for chanting, hearing, knowledge, and detachment. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this is a very important instruction for Uddhava. He was told ahead of time, because Krishna knows past, present, and future, that there would be very destructive things happening. And to save Uddhava from becoming very stressed and in anxiety, the Lord recommended that he go to Badarik Ashrama. Now, Badarik Ashrama is very high in the Himalaya mountains. All winter long you can't go there because it's freezing cold. But yet, some people still live there, even in that freezing cold. And and then Krishna's incarnation is Vyasadeva lives there. He's still there now. And other great sages and incarnations of Krishna, such as Narayana, rishis. So, Narayana we know is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is Nara? It's actually Arjuna, who always appears with the Lord in his different incarnations. So we see there's multiple incarnations existing simultaneously. This is the tremendous opulence of Krishna. He can manifest himself in multiple incarnations at the same time. So Vyasadeva is a Shaktavish avatar. He's received an absolute power of Krishna for producing literary, transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam and compiling the different Vedas. And Narayana, who are Arjuna with Narayana, and they're manifesting the value and determination to perform tapasya, or austerities for purification. So Uddhava was advised by Krishna himself to go and associate with such highly exalted devotees. And in their association of devotional service, he, meaning Uddhava, could increase his eagerness for chanting, hearing, knowledge, and detachment. That should be our motto also. We should also always want to associate with more advanced devotees to increase our eagerness for chanting, hearing, knowledge, and detachment. This is very important if you want to make spiritual advancement. You advance by associating with advanced devotees. You don't advance by associating with loose devotees or non-devotees. And this is a very important point. What's the use of associating with non-devotees all the time? It'll simply rub off on us, and we'll become loose or let's say non-interested in spiritual life by associating with such people. And they will induce us to take up bad habits. So what are those bad habits? They are intoxication, including coffee and tea. They are illicit activities outside of marriage. They are meat eating, and they are gambling and speculation. So I made some, I'm going to give you all a project to help me for the goodness theme of this year's London Mela. That is, I need somebody, I need to get information about 4 different things. Those 4 different things are gambling, meat eating, intoxication, and illicit activities. So, I looked up some information, but this is just a very quick, let's say, compilation. I rather that some of you take up this gathering information more thoroughly, so that we can make, just like we have our panel of the Constitution of the United States and the pursuit of happiness. So in the same way, I want to make a panel of the facts concerning the 4 sinful activities that destroy one's spiritual life. So in a quick research that I did this morning, I found out that concerning intoxication, intoxication is due, the main, let's say, pillars of intoxication are alcoholism and different types of legal and illegal opioid drugs, and of course, the most favorite thing in Washington and Oregon and Colorado, marijuana. So it says that the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, on a webpage they say, concerning alcohol, excessive alcohol drinking causes 140,000 deaths each year in the United States. Did you know that? 140,000 people a year die because of excessive use of alcohol. And not only that, it shortens, on an average, it shortens a person's life by 26 years. It shortens a person's life by 26 years. Now this is just a quick survey that I did. So I need, let's say, somebody who will own researching the dangers of alcoholism. That's only one of the dangerous drugs that are being regularly taken by Americans. Now, we're only talking about America now. I mean, we're not talking about the whole world, right? Number 2, all different types of opioid drugs, and there's a lot of them, and they're overdoses. So you have cocaine, which is highly addictive. Okay, now these are different categories of those drugs. It's not just opioid. There's cocaine, which is highly addictive. There's methamphetamines, which are, some are prescription drugs and some are illicit. And then there's of course marijuana. And then there's common opioids such as hydrocodone, oxymorphone, morphine, codeine, fentanyl, and heroin. If you take all the opioid drugs, in 1 year, they kill 68,000 Americans. 68,000 Americans. That's in 2020. So this, of course, is a very quick survey that I did. So I need someone to own the intoxication. So it's a big subject. There's alcohol, there's opioid drugs and other drugs that are legal and drugs that are illegal. And then there's marijuana. Okay. Okay. And then next is illicit activities. So this includes different types of communicable diseases due to illicit sex. So you have gonorrhea, you have syphilis, you have AIDS, you have monkeypox, you have Ebola, you have a whole bunch of others too. Now I didn't try and get an exhaustive list. This is just a quick list. And also you have biologically developed poisons and diseases that can be communicated either by illicit sex or by just breathing or inhaling or whatever. And so that includes COVID and other types of communicable diseases. Okay, so someone should own the drugs or intoxication. Someone should own this subject of communicable diseases. Okay, then meat eating, the dangers of meat eating. There are studies about this. Meat eating increases, especially red meat consumption, is linked with higher risk of premature death. There's a high risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, meaning heart diseases, and cancer. So it's up to you, to the person who chooses this subject, to do the research and get an estimate from those researches of how many people die a year by excessive meat eating. And then finally, there is gambling. Well, there's a lot of dangers in gambling. The gambling is called gambling disorder, which leads to a high risk of suicide. And there are studies and there are numbers of people that commit suicide as a result of usually a mixture of alcohol and gambling, because they go together. You go to a casino, they have plenty of alcohol, they have plenty of gambling. Okay, so I want to make a whole panel of this because it's part of, in other words, our main panel that is based on how to become, how to have a happy and prosperous population and spiritual population, and on the other hand, how to have very unhappy people and self-destructive people. So one of the main points is the 4 regulative principles. Okay, so then the next panel will be a complete, let's say, information about the negative effects of these 4 types of sinful activity. So who would like to be part of the project? Huh? Which one do you want? Let me guess. Which one?
Gambling.
Okay, gambling. Good. Yes.
Yeah. Anything whatever you like.
Choose something. I don't know.
Intoxication.
Okay, intoxication. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else want? Yes. Meat eating. Okay. And the last one. Anybody? You can take 2 of them if you want.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
split with somebody.
Okay. See, this is interesting because, you know, why are these things prohibited in Krishna consciousness? Well, you can see that there's a lot of studies of these things and statistics. A lot of people die and get sick and shorten their life duration due to these 4 things. Like, you know, you don't die young by eating apples and pears and vegetables, but you can die young by taking intoxication, by engaging in illicit activities, by, you know, the meat eating and gambling. These things are very dangerous, and many, many people every year, if you count the number of people who are dying because of these things, it's a huge number every year. Okay, so that's one aspect. And in the verse today, the absolute importance of associating with genuine, real devotees who actually follow the regulative principles strictly and who chant their rounds strictly every day, and who have lifestyle adjustment by going to bed early and waking up early, and preferably chanting all the rounds in the Brahma Muhurta period, and engaged in all kinds of spiritual activities for at least 3 hours before the sunrise. This is absolutely necessary. This was the normal lifestyle for millions of years in Bharat. And it's only been broken in the last 200 years. And it's getting worse and worse now. So we have to understand this is completely artificial type of life. People weren't addicted to these 4 types of sinful things earlier on. In Satya Yuga, no one was addicted to these things. Very few people, very, very few. In Treta Yuga, it increased. 25% of the population became addicted to these things. In Dwapara Yuga, it increased to 50% of people were addicted to these bad things. And in Kali Yuga, it's 75% and increasing addiction to these bad habits. Right? So we should have a display that makes all these points clear to people. Now it's up to them to decide whether they want to follow the 4 regulative principles, whether they want to follow the 4 universal principles of spirituality: mercy, and cleanliness, and truthfulness, and austerity. Right? So we are going to be presenting something very serious to the public. And the whole idea is to at least convince them to live in the mundane mode of goodness, and by associating with devotees, progress to transcendental goodness, which would be the solution to all problems of life. You see, this is a very good project, and we should be involved in it, because it's a way of preaching based on facts, not based on theory. We're basing everything on facts. Right? Okay, and we're going to also have a panel about the dangers of materialistic education, which is a disease. It is actually a disease. It's not simply, oh, you're making a big thing of this. You talk about it too much. No, I don't talk about it too much. And I'm not making a big thing about it. It's a worse disease than alcoholism, illicit activities, meat eating, and gambling. It's worse because it convinces a person to remain in the material world, and with all these false theories that they're promoting. Okay. So, the next verse, text 5, says, Tatapi tad abhipretam janan aham arindama pristato nuvagamam bhartu pada visle sanakshama tata api, yet in spite of, tat abhipretam, his desire, janan, knowing, aham, I, arimdama, O subduer of the enemy, Vidura, pristata, behind, anvagaman, followed, Bhartu, of the master, pada vislesana, separation from his lotus feet, akshama, not being able. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Yet in spite of my knowing his desire to destroy the dynasty of the Yadus, O Arindama Vidura, I followed him because it was impossible for me to bear separation from the lotus feet of the Master. So there's no purport there, so we'll go on to the next verse. But we see how Uddhava cannot give up the association of Krishna. It's unthinkable, not only for Uddhava, but for also all the devotees of the Lord. It's an unthinkable thing to give up the association of Krishna. Right? Adraksham ekamasinam
Adraksham ekamasinam
vichinvan dayitam patim
Vichinvan Daitam Padim
Sriniketam Sarasvatyam
Sriniketam Saraswatyam
Krita Ketam Aketanam
Vrita Ketam Aketanam
Adraksham.
Adraksham
I saw
Aisa
Ekam
Ekam
alone.
Alone
Asinam
Asinam
sitting.
Sitting
Vichinvan
Vichinvan
deeply thinking.
Deeply thinking
Daitam
Daitam
patron.
Patron
Patim
Patim
master.
Master
Sriniketam
Sriniketam
the shelter of the goddess of fortune.
The shelter of the goddess of fortune
Sarasvatyam
Saraswatyam
on the bank of the Saraswati.
On the bank of Saraswati
Kritaketam
Vrita
taking shelter.
Taking shelter
Aketanam
Ketanam
being situated without a shelter.
Being situated without a shelter
Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Thus following, I saw my patron and master, Lord Shri Krishna, sitting alone and deeply thinking, taking shelter on the bank of the river Saraswati, although he is the shelter of the goddess of fortune. Now the river Saraswati is no longer visible today, although it's still there, but it's not visible. So the Ganges goes from the Himalayas to the Bay of Bengal, and the Saraswati goes from the Himalayas to the toward Pakistan through Pakistan, which was not Pakistan at that time, and to the Indian Ocean, right?
Arabian Sea.
Cor- what?
Arabian Sea.
The Arabian Ocean, yeah. So, but the river is still there. It's just not visible. Sometimes rivers go underground, right? Like right now, there is an underground river coming through here. That's why the water tower is next door. And we used to have a well also that went right into the same river. There's an underground river coming from the Cascades right through here to Lake Sammamish. And so there are mysterious things like that all the time, all over the world. Okay, so it says, the Lord is the, let's see, which one was it? Yeah. The Lord, no,
3, 4, 6
yeah. Purport, those who are in the renounced order of life often take shelter under a tree. The Lord was found by Uddhava in that condition of taking shelter, as do persons who have no shelter. Because he is the proprietor of everything, everywhere is his shelter, and everywhere is under his shelter. The entire material and spiritual cosmic manifestation is sustained by him, and therefore he is the shelter of everything. So there was nothing astonishing in his taking shelter in the way of the unsheltered who are in the renounced order of life. Well, who else also lived under a different tree every day? That was the Goswamis. They did not want to be attached to one place. So one time Prabhupada was on a morning walk, and he stopped, and he was looking at this tree. And the devotees stopped also, and they were very, very curious. Why is he looking at that tree? And he says, just see this. And devotees looked, they're trying to figure out what he's seeing. So he said, you see, look on the ground here. So below the branch of the tree, they were looking at the ground. They didn't see, again, they were not sure what he was talking about. He said, don't you see all the bird droppings there? And then they noticed, oh yeah, there's a lot of bird droppings there. He said, you see how birds are also attached. They're always landing on that branch of a tree and passing stool regularly right there. Right? So he said, even the birds are attached. So this attachment, and also this thing, what do animals do? They eat, they sleep, they mate, and they defend. So when a bird lands somewhere, like on the ground or on a tree, it's always going like this, and then it's pecking, and then going like that. Why is it going like that? Because it's worried. Because there might be a predator, right? So they're in anxiety all the time. And then they're chirping early in the morning a lot. You don't hear it so much during the day, but definitely in the morning and the late afternoon, you hear them chirping. What are they chirping about? Did you find anything to eat? Where is it? Let me know also. See? They're all concerned about eating. And so, you see, they have their communication. They're communicating with each other, right? And they're telling each other where there's something good to eat. Like, so there are a lot of worms over here, not over there, like that. And they're attached. They're attached to passing stool in the same place every day. And so Prabhupada was pointing these things out, things that we would never really think about, but he was aware of them, and he made the devotees aware of a lot of things like that. Okay, so here's Krishna sitting under a tree, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's the shelter of everyone else, and he's taking shelter under a tree. So when you don't have anywhere else to stay, you find a nice tree, because at least there's some shade there, and a tree helps you, protects you a little bit from rain also, and snow and whatever. So Krishna is in deep meditation also. And what is he thinking about? Well, his pastimes are coming to an end in this little universe. There are many other universes, much bigger than this one. And now he's getting ready to go on to another universe to manifest his pastimes. So he's the shelter of everything, but yet he's taking shelter under a tree, seemingly like an ordinary person. So that means that you could meet Krishna anywhere. Just like Prahlad Maharaj. His father says, where is your Krishna? Where is he? I can't kill you, I'm going to kill him. So Prahlad said, well, he's everywhere. He said, he's everywhere? Is he in this pillar? Well, there was over 1,000 pillars in Hiranyakashipu's palace. And he just randomly pointed at one. And Prahlad said, yes. And he smashed the pillar, and out comes Nrsingadev in this unbelievable form as a half lion, half man. And he kills Hiranyakashipu. So, you could meet Krishna anywhere. You could be walking in the forest, and you could see him under a tree. Just like Dhruva Maharaj, he was walking in the forest, and he met Krishna. Well, because he really wanted to meet Krishna, and because he followed his guru's instructions. Narada Muni was his guru. And he was told by his mother, I can't really help you, but only Krishna can help you. And he said, well, where's Krishna? He's only 5 years old. He said, where's Krishna? You tell me. He said, well, he's supposed to be in the forest sometime. Because Prabhupada explains that there's this English poet, I forget his name, Cowper, I think. Anyway, he said that don't live in the city, live in the forest, because the forest is in the mode of goodness and the city is in the mode of passion. So, or live in the countryside, So yeah, there is a certain simplicity and purity about a forest because, first of all, you have a lot of trees, and trees are very protective. And also, some of them bear fruit, and especially the pious trees. Impious trees don't bear any fruits, but the pious trees always bear fruits and flowers. And so you can live off of the fruits and flowers of trees, like, for example, the moringa tree. The moringa tree, if you have one in your backyard, you wouldn't have to go to the supermarket because you'd be able to eat the leaves and the seed pods. And everything about that tree is medicinal also. You could heal all types of diseases with the leaves, with the seed pods, and with the bark of the tree. So the moringa tree is a survival tree. There are 3 or 4 survival trees in the world. So one is the moringa tree, another one is the olive tree, and then there's the coconut tree. All 3 of those are survival trees. If you have them, then it would solve all your eating problems for sure, and health problems. So we see that there are certain things that are in nature that are very, very beneficial. There are many things in nature that are very, very beneficial, but it requires some knowledge. So you could have a moringa tree in your backyard and ignore it, thinking it's just another tree. I just planted a moringa tree. Let's see if it grows. The moringa tree is something like a banana tree. Once it roots, even though it may die in the wintertime because of cold, it'll grow back again. What are you going to say?
So is that a tropical? Because I know that in India
It can grow in this climate. People have demonstrated they can grow, but it might die during the winter and it comes back again. Yeah. So we'll see. The moringa tree is a miraculous tree, and now the Americans have figured it out. So you can go and see many YouTube channel documentaries about the moringa tree, whereas before no one ever talked about it in America, but people have discovered it. Okay, so some of you weren't here earlier, so I'm going to just go over our project for that. I did a little bit of quick survey of the 4 types of sinful activity: intoxication, meat eating, gambling, and illicit activities. And I came up with many studies in the internet of these 4 things that are prohibited for in Krishna consciousness. And it just proves, the statistics are there, it just proves how dangerous these 4 things are: meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit activities. So some of the quick statistics I got was alcoholism is a big problem in America, and the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, gives statistics. Every year, 140,000 Americans die of alcoholism in this country. That's just America. It's not counting India, China, Japan, Russia. Russia is probably more than the United States. So that's a huge number, right? So we're going to make a panel, just like we have the panel for the theme of the Constitution of the United States. And so we're going to make one, because in that theme we talk about the dangers of the 4 sinful activities. So we're going to have a whole panel next to it enumerating the dangers of those 4 types of sinful activities. So, and we have statistics and we have scientific studies. It's all on the internet. Just to help people understand how dangerous it is if you, well, first of all, help our devotees and our kids to understand how dangerous it is if you engage in meat eating, gambling, intoxication, and illicit activities. So 140,000 people a year die because of alcoholism in the United States. And that's only one aspect of intoxication. At least 68,000 people die of overdoses of opioid, legal and illegal drugs, including hydrocodone, oxymorphone, morphine, codeine, fentanyl, and heroin. This is a statistic for 2020. And meat eating causes, especially red meat, but there's studies on different types of meat. There's a higher risk of premature death and type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease and cancer by meat eating. Okay, and then gambling, there's a high risk of suicide. So I asked some people to choose one of these subjects, do the full research. I didn't do full research. I just did it very quickly because I want to make a panel, just like the Life, Liberty, and Pursuit of Happiness panel, because we talk about the 4 sinful activities. So let's see. So Prabhuji chose which one? Meat eating, right?
No, gambling.
Gambling. You chose gambling. Okay. So gambling, is a high risk of suicide. Okay. And then Prabhuji, you chose
Intoxication.
intoxication. Okay.
And then also, I mean,
Well,
somebody who's willing to
we
take it
we need some more volunteers, and then you chose meat eating. So, yes. Okay. Both of you want to do illicit activities. Yes, illicit activities is a big one because there is all kinds of communicable diseases due to illicit activities, like gonorrhea, syphilis, AIDS, monkeypox, Ebola, and other things, many other things. And included in communicable diseases is biologically developed poisons and diseases in laboratories like COVID. So it's a big subject. And there's a lot of statistics. Okay? All right, we'll stop right there. Are there any questions?
So just on the project, the
Yeah.
level of detail that we need to collect. So one is to
So are
have-
both of you going to do this now? It's a big project.
We'll do the drugs and intoxication.
Okay, but as far as you're referring to Arjun and
Well, it's both of you raised your hand, right?
yes,
Okay, basically you're taking, illicit sex, right? And communicable diseases, all right? So what is Arjuna and Samart going to do? They're going to help you?
yeah. So I'll get them to actually do the project and I'll summarize it.
Okay. So you're doing intoxication.
Intoxication.
Okay.
And then, so the questions I have are more around the level of detail and then what kind of, basically, obviously impact. You want to collect statistics around.
We want to do research of what has already been researched,
Correct.
right? So we can give the references. So
Yeah.
people will say, "Oh, you're making all this up." No, we're not making anything up. This is fact. Right.
So having specific references of
Why?
quotable.
Because we are in the panel, which is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We show that by violating the 4 regulative principles, you begin the whole downward spiral to a unhappy and self-destructive population. And by maintaining those 4 regulative principles, it leads to a happy and productive and peaceful population, right?
Correct.
So today, the violation of 4 regulative principles is being done on a massive scale, and it's being taught. It's being promoted. They promote marijuana. Oh, it's good for your health. It'll stop stress and anxiety. What? Are you crazy? There's studies done showing that it increases stress and anxiety. You see, the whole thing was false. The whole reason why they permitted marijuana, medical marijuana, because they said, "Oh, it can heal stress." But now they have the proof that it doesn't heal stress. It increases it. You see, the whole thing is cheating, you know. And the same thing with, you know, people want to have abortions. That's extremely sinful. It's one of the most sinful things a person can do, is have an abortion. You're killing your own baby. How can that be helpful in any way?
Does that come under the illicit activities, Maharaj? Or
Yes.
the abortion also?
Yeah, because it's related to illicit sex.
Yeah.
So abortion is also involved. If you talk about abortion, you're talking about over 1 million every year, only in the United States. Only the United States. Just imagine what the number is in the world. The number is probably much bigger in India.
Yeah.
Much bigger.
There's a lot of unreported.
Yeah, well, there's reported and unreported, right? So this is a big subject. So in order to make our point valid, we have to have statistics.
Yeah. Proof that
Proof that these 4 things are extremely dangerous.
dangerous.
And no kid should be convinced to do any of those things. They should, although right now they get convinced that it's a good thing. You know.
2015 data, but it is saying 15.6 million abortions in 2015.
Where? In the world or?
India. Only in India.
Oh my God.
15.6 million.
It's unbelievable. Now you know why there are problems. When you kill your own children, when you have a society in which they kill their own children, there's a big problem. Okay, now you see the value of being Krishna conscious, but now we're going to prove it to the public. Yes?
Maharaj, my question is like, what is the format of like how we should like display the research?
Well, what was the format for life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness?
It's like a diagram of. Like,
Yeah, it's a diagram.
So we should make a diagram.
Let's see, but your diagram is going to be a little different because, you know, we have these 2 tracks, but now we're taking the proof for one of those tracks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
How this population degrades
Mm-hmm.
by violating the 4 regulative principles. And we have the proof, we have the statistics. You know, I mean, Prabhupada said, you don't have to do any research. The research has already been done. You have to interpret it correctly. You see.
Yes, Maharaj.
So we're trying to convince people to live in the mode of goodness, and we're showing what happens when you don't live in the mode of goodness, and we show you what happens if you do live in the mode of goodness. Right? Yes?
Shall we take numbers only for US or all over the world?
Just do for the U.S. The numbers all over the world would be mind-boggling. You know? It runs in the hundreds of millions, right? So, and then people wouldn't believe it. We just did the United States because they can go on the internet and see it right away. We're not making anything up. See? That's why Prabhupada said you don't have to do the research. The research has already been done. You have to interpret it correctly. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Go to Premanandi. Research Kijay. You see how interesting Krishna consciousness is once you want to really get into it?
Everything is connected to that.
Yeah. Then you say, oh no, my kid has to be educated. They have to learn. They have to learn how to be a demon. No. They should be educated to be a devotee. People make the argument, oh no, man, we're living in America, I want my kids to socialize with the demons. What? We want the opposite. We want to socialize with the devotees, so they become a devotee. Yeah, sure.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Bando moi savadana mate Jahara prasade ba e baba toriya jai Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoyte Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoyte Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitite Koriya Kya Arana Kori ho mane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Utama Gati Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेमा भक्ति जहा होते अविद्या विनाश जाते प्रेमा भक्ति जहा होते अविद्या विनाश जाते वेद गाय जहर चरितो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनार बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनार बंधु लोकेनाथ लोकेर जीवाना हा हा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पाद छाया हा हा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पाद छाया Rakshas Gushukri Bhuvana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol
A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj from Quality Anantako T. Vaishnava Namacharya Sila Haridas Thakur Prem Sikoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Radha Shivasti Gaura Bhakti Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogo Pinath Sam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premananda. All glories to the Samudra. All glories to Samudra. All glories to Samudra. All glories to Shiguru and Shiguranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. Gaura Premanandi.
The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mat. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates, by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and Master devotees. O Master, give me the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet, Srila Prabhupada.